Today, we're going to be doing our CMA on Zillow, so that way you guys can see exactly how I would set up the search and how I would conduct myself throughout this process to land on the compelling price, which, remember, this is a method to get us to our maximum profit. There's going to be some things and some homes that you're going to see along your search that might be a little confusing why they either sold for a lot of money or a little money. And I'll try my best to explain it and give you guys as many resources as I can to break this down. So to start off, before I show you how to start off with our basic search, I want you guys to see this home sold for $305,000 in 2023. It is a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home for 1,269 square feet. Now, when you scroll down a bit, you'll see the home value where it says that the Zestimate is $348,000 with an estimated sales range of $331,000 to $366,000, which I'm not saying that's wrong. That could be right. However, I've seen Zestimates and sales ranges that are as far off as $50,000 to $100,000. So I don't know if you're like me, but if I'm going to sell one of my biggest assets, I want to double and triple check my work and go the extra mile to do it myself to ensure that everything is correct, so I set myself up for success to maximize my profits. And if you're reading this book and bought this program, of course you want to do the same thing. So let's go ahead and jump into our basic search. So the first thing I need you to do is go to Zillow.com, and once you get to this screen, you'll go to this tab that says Buy and just simply select it. So when you're initially starting with your basic search, what do you want to do on Zillow? Well, first type in your town name. For this CMA, we're going to use a house in Tinley Park, so I already have that in there. You're going to change this from for sale to sold because you want to be looking at all of the sold properties. Now, the price, typically I would leave that alone, but I know this area is appreciated, so if it sold for $305,000 in 2023, I don't want to see anything less than $300,000. Bedrooms and bathrooms, I'm going to start with 2+ bedrooms and a bathroom and a half. And of course, if I had just way too many comparables, I could make that more specific. Home type, we want to deselect all, and because we're selling a single family house, we're going to select houses. If we were selling a townhouse or a condo, we'd of course select that and press apply. Then finally, there's this more section, and we're going to change a couple things. So whenever I change the square footage, I want 500 square feet above what my home is and about 500 below what my house is. But because this house is 1,269 square feet, I don't want to go too low because otherwise that will skew my CMA as well. And I'm not going to find very many comparable properties that are 750 square feet. So for this example, I'm going to go 1,000 square feet minimum and 1,750 square feet maximum. And then I want to just scroll down until I see sold and last and change it from any to the last 90 days. Of course, if I don't have enough comparable homes within the last 90 days sold, I'm going to change it to 6 months. And the furthest out I want to go is 1 year. Otherwise, the market data will not be accurate. So last 90 days, select apply. And now, if you're looking at your search and you see, for whatever reason, let's just say that there was a bulk of homes right around here that were all selling for $50,000 more than anywhere else in the town, that might be an indicator that that location in particular is the downtown area, and it has the train station and all the shops, and it's a very desirable part of town. And so you wouldn't select, let's say we were living here, we wouldn't select these homes out here that we're selling for $50,000 less. We'd want to get as close to that downtown area as possible to make sure that we're comparing apples to apples, not apples to oranges, so to speak. The same thing goes for the school districts. Let's say that you see one side of town just appears to be selling for a lot more money, or you know, based on your town, that there is one school district that is a lot more desirable to home buyers. Well, then you don't want to be comparing your house. If you're living on the desirable school district part of town, you don't want to be comparing your house to those in the other school district. And if you don't know those boundaries, a good way to just quicken this up from the start is to go to a website like greatschools.org. Now, if you don't know what school your kids would attend and where you reside in the town, you type in your zip code or address on this part of the search box. If you know, like for instance, I know that the home we're looking at, these kids would go to Tinley Park High School. I'm just going to type in Tinley Park. Let me type it in correctly. Park High School. And I'm going to select it. And from here, I can see, of course, the rating of this school and a whole bunch of really cool details. But if we scroll all the way to the bottom, where it says neighborhood, then we'll see school attendance zone. And so I could click on this, and I see the exact boundaries for Tinley Park High School, which is great to see because it will save me time. Because what I can do is I could either remove this boundary by clicking this X, and I could manually draw the school district boundaries in, or I could simply look at the streets and figure out where the boundaries are. So that way, when I zoom into my search, I know without having to actually click into these properties and scroll down to that school section whether I'll be in boundary or not, which that will save me time. And then of course, I have this property hearted already for us. And I did that because it's essentially next door neighbors to the house that we're going to be comparing. And this is a really good sign, because if 2 years later they sold for $365,000 and in 2023 our house sold for $305,000, that could mean that we either have a lot of appreciation that's taken place, or this could mean that maybe this house is just a whole lot better than ours on the inside, and that's why they received such a good offer. Or it could mean potentially the seller got lucky. That does happen from time to time. But we're going to have to really dissect that and look into that as we start analyzing our properties picture by picture by picture and diving into our CMA. Now, when you first start off, you want to select a handful of homes. We can go with 10, 15 homes and then weed them out as we go until we end on the most comparable 5 to 6 homes to really analyze between. And so when we're looking at this, I'm going to take a look at this home, see, okay, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 1,600 square feet. That's something I want to take a look at. This one, same thing. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 1,301 square feet. Sold for $365,000. That was good to me. Now let's take a look at that. This one, 4 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 1,350. Sold for $345,000. This would be also something I want to take a look at. Now, let's say that this was 5 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and say 1,700 square feet. Well, I'm not going to want to look at that any further because I already know that that is not comparable enough, and that's pretty much out of our league, so to speak. But I'm going to add this to the list, and then I'm going to continue to do this until I have a good amount of homes that I want to start weeding through, which once I have that, my face is in the way in this right hand corner, but there's going to be a part that says blank saved homes. And so that's your search that you've all hearted. You want to select that. Once you get to your favorites page, what I like to do is change this section from by date to by price, so that way these list in ascending order from highest to lowest. And now when I start dissecting picture by picture by picture, this is where things get serious. This is where I have to look at my home and be honest with myself and see my home through buyer's eyes, so I can look at these homes and say, is my home better or worse than the one I'm comparing it to? And if I can't be honest with myself, then I won't be able to properly land on the compelling price, because I'm always going to believe that my house is better than what it is, because I have these memories in this house. I love my home. And so I know this will be difficult, or it can be difficult, but just try to detach your emotions. That way you can allow your house to bless you and help you reach maximum profit. Okay, so right now, before I go through our comparable homes, I'm going to go through our house and show you all of the details to take note on. Because I do recommend, when you're building out your CMA, have a pen and paper next to you, so that way you can note certain details so you can better analyze these homes come the end and land on that compelling price. So starting out, the first thing I want to point out is the year the house was built. This house, as you can see, was built in 1971. That would be something to notate. Now up here, it says that it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom home for 1,269 square feet. Now this can be deceiving because Zillow doesn't allow you to put half bathrooms. And so there's going to be a lot of homes that say 2 or 3 bathrooms, but they're actually, say, a bathroom and a half. And what you'd want to do is scroll all the way down to the bottom here until you get to the facts and features, and you'll see this is all the interior details. So this house actually is a 2-bathroom home, but it could have said a bathroom and a half. So be wary of that. Now also, when you're looking through the pictures, just make sure that this is correct, because even though this will be more accurate down here, there may still be some mistakes. So be aware of that. Keep your eyes open. Specifically, keep your eyes open when it comes to things like basements, because a lot of sellers and even realtors working with sellers will say that the house has a basement, but in reality it's a lower level. It's not really a basement. So if you're analyzing and you're putting one of the comparable homes above your home because they have a basement, that can affect what you ultimately list at and receive. And so be aware of that as well. Make sure that the house that you're looking at actually does have a basement. It's not just a lower level. And you'll be able to tell in the picture most of the time. Also down here, sometimes you'll see when it comes to like primary bedroom, bedroom 2, bedroom 3, it will say what kind of flooring they have. Hardwood flooring is always going to be more desirable. The dark hardwood flooring specifically is in style these days. And so they might list it here. These guys decided to list it here in this feature section. As we can see, flooring hardwood. I'd like for them to be a little bit more specific. You're going to see some of these homes that we look at do have hardwood listed. They're specific with each room. And so pay attention to all of those details and note that. Another thing to note is if a house has a fireplace, because a fireplace is a very desirable feature. There's no easy way to put a fireplace in a home. So if your home has a fireplace or multiple fireplaces, that can benefit you in terms of the price. And so take that all into consideration. When we scroll down here, another thing to take a look at is the garage spaces. This house has a 2-car attached garage. Now, here in the Chicagoland area, attached garages are very desirable because we experience harsh winters. It's not fun in the wintertime to have to get out of your car because you have a detached garage and walk back into your home and have to go through that cold again. It's a lot nicer to just get out of your car and walk through the garage door and you're in your house. Now, depending on where you're at in the world, that will be more or less desirable. And of course, the more garage spaces, the better. Another thing is like the patio, porch, deck. Take that into consideration as well in what that looks like. Now, don't put too much weight in the backyard because you are selling your house, but know that if you do have a superior backyard, the right buyer will see it and reward you for it. All right, so take note of all of those things. Another thing to take note on is the architectural style. So in particular, ranch homes tend to be more desirable. Now, let's say that you're doing your CMA and you see where you live that maybe you're selling a tri-level home, and you see all the tri-level homes tend to be selling for more money. Well, that's a trend. Also, take note if they're selling for less money, and be conscious of that. That won't always drastically affect you, but that's just another thing to be aware of and take note on, because you'll start seeing trends when you do enough CMAs. You guys are only doing the one for your house, and so you have to just be on top of it for your area. Now, another thing is like brick and siding, because brick is always going to be more desirable. This home has both brick and siding. So take note of that. And then once you have note on all those details, scroll on down, because this price history section is very important. This will help you piece together your compelling price, because you're going to figure out where these homes listed for and what they sold for, and you'll be able to figure out what a compelling price is and what a overpriced home looks like in your area. Because typically when people overprice their home, the consequence of that is they're going to sit on the market for a long time and typically sell for a lot less money after a price change and a price change and a price change. It doesn't always happen, but remember, this is a trend. When you do these long enough, you'll start seeing these trends, and that's typically what happens. That's why we want to list at a compelling price from the start, so that way we don't have to go through all that. Now, these guys, as we can see, they listed for sale for $299,000 back in 2023, and they pretty much went contingent immediately, and they ended up selling for $305,000. So they got more than what they asked for, and they did it in record time. So good for them. Now that you've looked at all of the home details, it's time to start analyzing each photo picture by picture by picture and utilizing your buyer eyes to see, is your home better or worse than the one you're comparing it to. I go through the entire CMA in my program, No Realtor, No Problem. For this YouTube video, I wanted to give you guys the bare bones of exactly what you needed so you could just immediately take action and make a CMA after watching this video. And I kept it short and sweet. So I do want to drill a couple things home, and I do want to make another point about location, because location can really affect the price. And I'm talking specific location here, because if you see one of these homes that looks like it should be selling for a lot more than what it is, but it sold for cheap, or on the contrary, you see a home that does not look like it should have sold for as much as it did, but it did, that could be a sign that one of these homes is either in a very desirable or not so desirable part of town. If it's selling for less, maybe you're down the street from a liquor store, or maybe your neighbor's house is an eyesore because they've let it go to trash, or maybe you're on a main street. If it's appreciating, well then maybe it has a pond behind it, or it's on a golf course, or it's in a cul-de-sac, things that appreciate its value. To figure that out, I recommend you go to Google Maps, and I already punched in one of the addresses. You can come down here and press this street view, and then you can take a look at the neighborhood. You can see, is it down the street from a liquor store? I don't think so. How do the neighbors' houses look? Where is it? Is it in a cul-de-sac? And you can kind of click around here and really check things out. So I recommend that you take advantage of this resource, especially if you see a house like that and it's confusing you, because those things can really catch you off guard. And last thing is this. I want to drill this home, because I don't want you shooting yourself in the foot and listing high, because as our data shows us, the two homes that listed really high sat on the market for a long time, and they sold for significantly less than what they wanted to sell for, and potentially less than what they could have sold for. However, all the other homes sold for a very short amount of time. And our number one comp that listed at a very compelling price ended up selling for significantly more than what they asked for. And they did it in this record time. So I hope you guys have all the luck in the world with your selling process and while you're making your CMA. Good luck with everything, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take care.